First up, we have House File 1985. Representative Jordan, would you like to make a motion to move House File 1985 before the committee and to lay it over for possible inclusion in a future omnibus?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Members of the committee and members of the public, we're looking to lay this bill over by 10:50 a.m. Representative Jordan, before you introduce your bill, I understand you have an author's amendment you'd like to offer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, members of the committee. And so before I talk broadly about House File 1985, I'd like to ask your indulgence to also make an oral amendment to my author's amendment and strike lines 3.19 to 3.21. After consulting with MDE, we both agree these lines are vague and unnecessary. Additionally, my DE amendment as amended adds two separate aid formulas, one to fill behind the lunch program and the other to fill in behind breakfast. This amendment also expands the options for counting students eligible for free and reduced price meals to determine compensatory revenue. And so I ask for your support to put House File 1985 in the shape I'd like it.
Representative Jordan, would you please restate your oral amendment to the DE1 amendment, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It would be to strike lines 3.19 to 3.21.
All right. You may incorporate that amendment into your DE1 amendment. With that, members, any discussion to the author's amendment to put the bill in the order the chief prefers? Seeing none, all in favor of the DE1 amendment with the incorporated change, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion prevails. Representative Jordan, to your bill as amended.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and fellow members of the committee. We all know that Minnesota is a state that values education and wants to see every child succeed, but unfortunately we fall short in creating equal opportunities for all students without exception. And in a state with an agricultural tradition as rich as ours, it's particularly unacceptable that 1 in 6 Minnesota students are going hungry. The legislature has already taken steps to ban school lunch shaming, and I'm so grateful to both DFL and Republican leaders who have made ending this a priority. House File 1985 as amended would enroll more schools in the Community Eligibility Program, which would provide meals for all students at eligible schools. CEP is a federal program that provides universal, no-cost meals at schools in high-poverty neighborhoods where many students come from families eligible for SNAP and other nutrition assistance. Students and their families do not need to apply like they do with free and reduced price lunch programs. Minnesota currently ranks 47th in the nation for schools enrolled in CEP. This bill is an opportunity for all of us, Democrats, Republicans, and independents representing urban, rural, and suburban districts to come together to feed children. And you can see that diversity reflected in both House and Senate authors. It's truly such an honor to be with advocates that you're about to hear from who cross these barriers to end childhood hunger. House File 1985 as amended is a bill to close the opportunity gaps between white students and students of color. And this is a bill to improve student mental health. And finally, this is a bill to grow happy and healthy families across Minnesota. With that, Chair Dabney, I'd like to ask our testifiers to speak to why including House File 1985 in our omnibus is so critical. And I also have Leah Gardner with me from Hunger Solutions, and we would be happy to answer members of the committee may have. Thank you.
So, Representative Jordan, I don't have Ms. Gardner on my list of testifiers. Would you like her to testify, or is she phone a friend?
She's a phone a friend.
Okay, thank you very much. First on my list is Louise Iverson with the General Mills Foundation. Ms. Iverson, please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Louise Iverson, and I'm a Senior Program Manager on General Mills' Global Social Impact Team. But General Mills is committed to making food the world loves, and core to that commitment is our ambition to help end childhood hunger. We are so proud to call Minnesota home to our world headquarters, but we are dismayed that 1 in 6 children in Minnesota currently experience hunger. We know that school meals are a powerful pathway for reducing childhood hunger, and that's why we support this legislation. And as a member of the Minnesota Business Coalition for Racial Equity, we are among a broad, growing number of Minnesota businesses who support this legislation because it will help address our state's profound and unacceptable racial disparities in child hunger, health, and educational outcomes. Investing in the future of our state's young people isn't just the right thing to do, it also makes good business sense. Thank you for this opportunity to share my testimony.
Thank you very much, Ms. Iverson. Next on my list is Carl Childs, a youth advocate with appetite for change. Mr. Childs, welcome to the committee. please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Carl Childs. I'm a youth leader at Appetite for Change. I go to North Community High School. I'm a senior. I just wanted to talk to you guys about why we should pass this bill. I think we should pass it because growing up in school, my whole life I had free reduced lunch, but a lot of my friends didn't. So and I know they didn't have food at home, so they would have to come to school. So if they wasn't able to pay for their school lunch, they have to get cold lunches, or they won't eat. They have to miss some days because they have to, find ways to eat other than school. And I just feel like that's wrong, wasting opportunity for people my age and our future to thrive and do better in life. So if we have free lunches, we won't have to worry about eating. We can focus on school and we can thrive better in the classrooms. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to my testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Childs. Next and last on my list is Claire Chase, a parent with students in the Cass Lake Bena schools. Ms. Chase, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and provide your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Claire Chase, and I live in Bena, Minnesota. I have 5 children, 4 of which attend the Cass Lake Bena School District, and I'm testifying in support of House File 1985, which would allow more schools to provide breakfast and lunch to all students. As a parent of Cass Lake Bena School District, I am so grateful that my kids and their peers don't need to worry about whether or not they can access school meals. Sometimes these are the only meals that these children are getting. Thanks to the CEP, all kids in our school are eligible for free breakfast and lunch, and they even offer a program for kids in after-school activities to have dinner at the schools. And that's huge for so many of these families. This program has allowed all kids consistent access to healthy meals throughout the years without stigma and with huge benefits to the community. In fact, this is something that even I benefited from when I was a child at the same school district. And I can tell you that while both my parents were employed and providing for my siblings, we still struggled. And this was a huge stress relief that was lifted from my parents during my youth. And now it has allowed our school district to act quickly to meet the needs of all families during COVID. During this past year, our school district was able to provide 2 meals and a snack to all families in the school district 5 days out of the week that chose to opt in. And for the duration of the entire time that our district was in distant learning, they delivered the meals to our communities, which is a huge geographical area. And they made sure that families were fed, and those families didn't have to worry if they were eligible or not when they picked up extra shifts or got new jobs to survive during the pandemic. And just from my professional work, I can tell you that food insecurity is a very real issue in our community and across the whole state. And unfortunately, it was an issue before COVID and will be long afterwards. In order for schools and students to be successful, we must do all that we can to make sure no child is going without their nutritional needs being met. So thank you for your time considering this important bill.
Thank you, Ms. Chase. Members, when this hearing was posted, the public was provided with instructions on how to sign up to testify during the public portion of this bill hearing. Given our busy agenda, we're only able to hear a limited amount of public testimony on our bills today. However, we still wanted to save room for members of the public who reached out to us. On my list for this bill, I have Mr. Brenton Lexfold. Mr. Lexfold, please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Brenton Lexfold, and I'm the Director of Student Nutrition Services and Registered Dietitian for the Red Wing Public Schools in Red Wing, Minnesota. In addition, I'm also the Public Policy and Legislative Chair for the Minnesota School Nutrition Association, representing over 3,000 school nutrition professionals within our great state. Red Wing has been serving up meals to children in schools and within the Red Wing community during the onset of the COVID pandemic. Our meal program has seen steadily meal counts and amazing community support, which has helped keep our program afloat during these unprecedented times. Many school nutrition programs in the state are struggling due to low community participation, rising costs of products, and a market of uncertainty. As the PPL chair and a registered dietitian, I support any bill that may help bridge the food insecurity children in our communities are facing. With childhood nutrition being a focus for Secretary Vilsack, I truly believe the time has come to foster robust conversations on how we can ensure our children have access to free meals for all students at no charge. State funding to cover the gap for CEP is one way to make this work for some schools and students. But we want the committee to be aware that MSNA is continually working with our national partner, SNA, in asking Congress to make this happen. Furthermore, we heard a report last December from our national lobbyists that the Congressional Budget Office had forecasted the 10-year cost to provide all students free lunch and breakfast nationwide at $40 billion for the decade, or $4 billion per year. The federal waivers creating free meals from last year and now through the summer and perhaps in the fall have helped many families, and we believe the time has come for Congress to permanently expand the national school lunch and breakfast programs to offer students meals at no charge as an integral part of the educational experience. In conclusion, ensuring our children have access to nutritious meals on a daily basis is important. It is the single most imperative step we can do to ensure the future of this great nation. Thank you for your time and allowing me to speak on behalf of the passionate school nutrition professionals in the great state of Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Lexfold. Questions from members? Representative Erickson, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is a question for the author. I'm looking at the delete all, and this might not be different from the original bill, but only certain schools will qualify. Is that correct, Representative Jordan?
Representative Jordan?
Mr. Chair, Representative Erickson, that is correct.
So what does the Title VII of the federal regulation, Section 245.9 say about qualifying? Because I suspect that we're going to have a lot of schools that don't qualify.
Representative Jordan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Erickson. We do have a number of schools that don't qualify. The bill's intent is to make this school, to have this to the schools that will qualify under this program would be schools that are eligible for full reimbursement under the federal CEP program.
Representative Erickson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Jordan, there is, though, a punishment of a type if they're not compliant. Is that correct?
Representative Jordan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Erickson, which part are you looking at?
Subdivision 5, excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Representative Erickson, Subdivision 5. Can you give a line and page on that,
yeah,
please?
4.1 through 4.6.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, Representative Erickson, I have too many tabs open. Can you repeat the initial question?
Yeah.
Representative Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Jordan. On lines 4.1 through 4.6 under reporting obligations for non-compliant full reimbursement qualifying schools. So a school that fails to comply with sub 4, which is the subdivision before, must respond to a notification of non-compliance from the department. Response must include a report available to the public on any obstacles to participation that contributed to the non-compliance. I'm just puzzled by this particular provision.
Representative Jordan?
Thank you, Representative Erickson. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't really understand your question, but maybe Ms. Gardner could take a stab at it.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
Ms. Gardner, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony. If you can help us understand this issue, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Leah Gardner. I'm with Hunger Solutions Minnesota. And the intent of that section is to better understand if a school is fully eligible and not participating in the community eligibility provision, what barriers there might be. So it's simply to allow for more transparency and understanding what more we might be able to do to help a school that's fully eligible and yet not participating in the provision.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's rather punitive, but so we'll proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Thompson, I see you have your hands up.
Chair, thank you. And to the author of this bill, I just wanted to say thank you. I do know for a fact the reason I'm here and a part of this body is because of my good friend Philando Castile, who I watched actually go in his pocket. You know, Philando was a school lunch supervisor. And for children who didn't have $1.40 in their lunch account or they were over, he would put it in the cash register for them. He also knew their dietary needs, their allergies. He would tell kids like, listen, put that milk back, you're lactose intolerant. You can't have those peanuts. Behind Philando was their list and their faces, but he weeded those kids out, knowing their food allergies by heart. Here we are now. We used to come to this body and ask to fully fund kids' lunches because they were being lunch shamed. And we were told that we just we didn't have the money. And then COVID hit, and now we're delivering the food with school buses. So I know we can do this. Also, the Philando Castile Relief Foundation travels the state right now as we speak, paying off student lunch debt to the tune of $20,000, $10,000, $5,000, just in honor of my good friend Philando Castile. I do know that these kids are our future, all children, and the least we can do for them is provide a hot lunch and a cold breakfast. I know these kids are our future, and there's data that shows when a kid eats a healthy breakfast and lunch, they kind of learn better. They do learn better. I can remember not having money in my school account, and they would give us a cheese sandwich chair and an applesauce. Even though we had lunch to eat, the kids knew that we were poor. And kids are very mean to, like, I don't know if you guys know that, they're very mean to us. I just wanted to share that with you guys and say thank you, because this is a continuation of the legacy of my good friend Philando Castile and the work that the Philando Castile Relief Foundation is doing to this day to eliminate student hunger. Thank you so much, guys. This means so much to me.
Thank you, Representative Thompson. Representative Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the author, I'm just curious on a couple little things. I love the intent of the bill. I know the CEP program's been around for quite a while. A lot of schools do it voluntary. So my first question is, we're changing it from a voluntary to a mandatory. Is that correct?
Representative Jordan, can you help us understand the intent of the bill, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Daniels, for the question. Right now, schools are not obligated to participate in CEP, and as a result, Minnesota schools are not taking this up. And the result of that is ultimately that children are going hungry at school. The intent of this bill is for children to be fed at school and to have more schools bring up the CEP program. We know that we've done a lot to make sure that we're providing students that fill out their free and reduced price lunch waiver, but there are a lot of students that are falling through the cracks that might not qualify for those subsidies, but are still not being fed and are trying to learn on an empty stomach. You know, I think Representative Thompson maybe said it even better than I did, where he talked about the impact that our school nutrition staff and the meals have on students and their outlook on life and their ability to learn. So that's the intent of this bill, is to make sure that more schools are participating so that they can feed children.
Representative Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also, I'm just wondering, in my school districts that I visited and talked to, they've already been doing this for quite a long time. And I'm just unfamiliar with the rest of the state. Do you have a list of the cities, but the school districts that are not doing this? I mean, I'd be curious to see where that problem is and how big that problem is.
Representative Jordan.
Mr. Chair, Representative Daniels, yes, we can provide that list. I can tell you that the problem is spread across the state, and there are many schools in every corner of the state that are not participating in CEP that would be eligible to provide free meals for every single child at their school that are not currently doing so. We'd be happy to get that to members.
Representative Daniels, any follow-up?
I'm just curious. I see Mr. Strom put his video on. Do you have any more information on that, Mr. Strom?
Mr. Strom, can you help us out?
Mr. Chair, members, we'll see what we can provide to you. There's two different things going on. There's the list of those that are fully funded currently where a site may not be participating. And then for those below essentially the 60% level, the funding is less than full funding for those districts. And we could use a free and reduced count from last fall to by site to look at that. We wouldn't be able to give you a fiscal estimate of that, but we could identify the sites that are greater than 40% and less than 60% eligible for free and reduced price meals. There may be other reasons the author wishes to address, or perhaps Ms. Gardner would address, about why qualifying schools that are fully funded currently don't participate in the program. And that's a list I don't have, is those that are that would be fully funded but choose not to participate.
Representative Daniels, any final comment?
Just that would be a nice list to have, just so we know how huge the problem is and what we need to do to fix it. So thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Representative Daniels. Representative Jordan, any closing comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Representative Daniels, we will get you a list of those schools. I do have that. But thank you, members of the committee, for hearing this bill. Again, I really want to emphasize that this bill is about feeding children. I think we have a lot of adult problems for why schools may or may not be able to do that. And that's our job in this committee to fix. And this is something that we can actually do to make a difference and feed all of our students. So thank you for your consideration today. And please let me know if you have further questions.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. With that, Representative Jordan renews her motion to lay over House File 1985 as amended for possible inclusion in a future omnibus. To the testifiers, thank you for joining us today.